How's it going, guys, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to Under the Ropes, the next episode in this installment of this series where myself and Tiffany interview independent stars from around the wrestling scene. I'm your host, as always, the self-proclaimed greatest host, Kyle Masters, always joined by my co-host. She's the EVP of Giggles, the Queen of the Indies, Tiffany, and we're joined today by our third and interview guest star today, none other than Joey Silver. Joey, what's going on, man?
What is up, guys? So happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me on, and looking forward to getting into this interview.
Awesome. We're excited here to let the world and the wrestling world know a little bit more about Joey Silver, this highly touted up-and-coming wrestling star in the business. Tiffany knows firsthand about him, seen him in a couple of shows down there in New York. I unfortunately don't get that pleasure of independent scenes up here in Canada, but hopefully eventually they fix that. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Under the Ropes. This is the fourth episode in this series and myself and Tiff has started. We've interviewed such stars as Anthony Gangone, Nick Shin, and Leroy Green, who's actually been talk of the town a little bit on the Twitter sphere with his Nintendo Switch and wrestling going on. I've seen him pop up in a lot of news feeds, so good for him for making some sort of a name out there with his Nintendo Switch stuff. So Joey, I know you're familiar with the people I just named off.
Yeah.
How do you know them? How do you give us? We'll start off with that. How do you know all three of those guys?
Yeah, so they're all affiliated with House of Glory, and that is currently where I'm training in Brooklyn, New York, under Amazing Red. So I've been training with Gangone, with Leroy, and Nick Shin, of course, the referee over there. So he's a great guy, and those are a solid list of guys. It's really good to see Leroy picking up some steam. I saw him on World Star,
Ooh,
crazy.
Wow. So you actually trained with number one husband of Tiffany's list of husbands
right.
member,
That's
Anthony
right.
Gangone. Interesting.
I might roast me under the damn bus.
He was actually dripping in gold recently with his updated
Gold.
his updated pictures there.
Oh,
Good for
crazy.
him. But if you
I
guys
have a lot of goals, but one of my top goals is to make it onto Tiffany's list.
Oh, all right. All right, it's a great goal. I mean,
I think
Tiff-
that's
Tiff-
like. I think that must be like the thing, because every time we do an interview, everybody always says that they're only gonna come on if they're on the list of husbands.
well, time to break out the eraser, Tiff. Time to scratch a name off. Just
my
saying.
list of husbands.
That's right. You have the T-shirt. Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
The list of husbands. This is the old
There
one. I
it
gotta
is.
update it, but yeah. So my list of husbands. So.
I think we can erase that number one spot. I think that's a little old there.
Why is this like trying to take Anthony off my list? Get out of here! Like,
Hopefully, after this interview, I can climb my way up the ranks. We'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, just like he's climbing his way up in the wrestling business, guys. He's gonna climb up that list of husbands. It's gonna happen. Anyways, before we get anywhere, guys, I'm just gonna promote two things that Joey's going to be a part of upcoming. The first one is, oh God, my eyes suck, so I'm just gonna have to zoom in for myself here. But it looks like Full Faith Wrestling's Refuge. I think it's their next event, I believe.
That's right.
It'll be on November 23rd. So if you guys are in the area, make sure you go check that out. $20 general admission tickets. Tickets can be picked up at the door. 7 p.m. Doors open. 7:30 bell time. I didn't get the list here of what you'll be doing in this event, but could we get maybe a little preview there, Joey?
100%. So this is going to be on Long Island, my hometown, and in Deer Park more specifically.
Mm-hmm.
And I am having the biggest match of my career to date against the one and only Shannon Moore.
Oh, former WWE star Shannon Moore. I remember him.
Yeah. So I mean, he was WWE, WCW. He did it all. He was in Impact, with Inc. He's done some pretty incredible stuff. Definitely an innovator, someone who paved the way, especially for the cruiserweights, the lightweights like myself, and pending my upcoming match with Smiley goes well, I'll be defending my Full Faith Wrestling light heavyweight champion against Shannon Moore. So super exciting stuff. I can't wait to get in the ring with him. He's a super talented guy.
Awesome. As you guys can see if you're watching a video version of this interview, the light heavyweight championship in the background for Joey there, the Full Faith light heavyweight champion there, and he'll be defending his belt. That's awesome. Also, looks like the fundraiser, you guys be doing a fundraiser for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, which is also huge. I love that part of it. So go check him out there, guys. Also, Tiffany sent me this PWT Infamous 2 on October 12th, which is actually in 2 days.
That's right.
And it looks like Carmel, Maine. Not sure where that is. Being Canadian, that's my fault. But you'll be facing off against Vern Vicalo. I think, did I say that right? Or Vicalo?
Yeah, that's right. The selfie-made man. I'll be up there in Maine this weekend, taking the trip from New York. It's about an 8-hour drive with little snow traffic. So fingers crossed. And it should be a really great event. It's their 2nd anniversary show.
Oh.
So, but a solid crowd up there in Maine. A lot of trees up there, more than I've ever seen before. Not really, but it's great. It's my 3rd show with Pro Wrestling Takeover, and the crowd seems to love me there. So
awesome.
We're gonna keep that momentum going, and we'll take it this weekend. Hopefully, pull out a win.
That's sweet. Exciting. Awesome. So just wanted to give and promote those 2 things, and shout out to those 2 promotions for having Joey Silver on for them. Gonna get right into the interview here. Might as well start it off here, Tiff, and I'll start it off here. Where did you get your start in professional wrestling, Joey? Like, how did you become a professional wrestler?
Great question, Kyle. So, I actually grew up a huge fan of professional wrestling. When I was 4 years old, that's when I went to my first event.
Oh, wow.
My dad took me. I know you hear a lot of people, they're like, oh, I was 5, I was 6, but no. I was 4. I have the ticket to prove it.
Oh.
Wow.
And we went to Nassau Coliseum on Long Island. Saw my first event there. I have, some snapshot memories of it. I remember the Undertaker's entrance.
Yes.
This was in 1996. I remember Jake the Snake coming out, pulling the snake out, and it stuck with me, and I was like, this is it. And I was a fan. I was hooked right from there. I wanted to, everything I did just kind of helped ladder up to pro wrestling. So I started getting involved in drama club in school. I was like, oh, this will help with my wrestling career, being a good actor and all of that. So and then in high school, I joined the wrestling team, 140 pounds soaking wet. And funny story real quick. My first wrestling match, I basically had no experience. It was a couple weeks into my training, and I stepped onto the mat with this one guy. And I pretty much, since I didn't have the skills necessarily, I just muscled him.
Oh, God.
The whole match. I was just throwing him around like a rag doll. Gave him a German suplex at one point. I was like,
all right,
you know what? This is the start of my wrestling career. I won the match, which was really cool. But yeah, I didn't really have the skills. I just muscled him completely. I got my start in pro wrestling when I turned 19.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I joined NYWC, New York Wrestling Connection, on Long Island. So this is the school that Zack Ryder came from,
Okay.
Trent Beretta from Best Friends, Kurt Hawkins, and my trainers at the time were Tony Nese, who's now 205 Live, and Alex Reynolds, who is a pretty big name in the Northeast and the independent circuit, and learned a lot of my fundamentals there. It was a solid spot to start training there. And I actually bopped around quite a bit
Okay.
when it came to my schools. So I started out with NYWC, and then, I was going to college at the time, so I was only going during the summer. And then I tried out Creative Pro, which is Kurt Hawkins' school.
Yep.
Kurt Hawkins and Pat Buck. Pat Buck is now with WWE. So it was Kurt Hawkins doing the training there. And, it was just a place for me to go and practice, try stuff out, get my workout in. So it was really cool to be there and get that experience with him and that group of guys. MJF was one of the guys who came from there. So I got to roll around with him quite a bit. And it wasn't until about a year ago that I joined up with House of Glory and, started training under Amazing Red. So I've been to 3 schools now, kind of have like a lot of different tastes and a lot of different experiences with a couple different trainers. So I feel really lucky to have that experience and, get those different kind of flavors of ice cream, if you will.
I like that analogy. That's awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah. So since you're talking about Amazing Red makes amazing stars. I mean, he's a damn star. I was just there at the New Japan a couple of weeks ago. He's just a beast, and I absolutely loved him. So tell us a little bit more about your training with him, and has he influenced your career, like, at all?
Yes, absolutely. He's had a huge, huge influence on me, on my career. And I apologize for the noise for all the listeners. I live right on the Brooklyn Queens Expressway, not on it, but like right next to it. And there's just a lot of noise over here. So sorry about that. But back to Amazing Red. He's just a dope wrestler. Like, he is an innovator. He has helped me be so much more crispy in the ring, just like have a little more style and swag, finesse. I love training with him. He helps me constantly think about new moves that, because he was such an innovator. Whatever, it was like 10, 15, 20 years ago, he was innovating moves that you see now that guys like Rey Mysterio, guys like Ali do. So many others that have like taken moves from him, adapted moves from him. And it's really cool because he's back in the game now. Like you said, Tiffany, he retired a couple months ago. He put out a pretty emotional video, a retirement video. And he was dealing with a lot of stuff, nagging injuries, but a dream match scenario came up with Will Ospreay, as you know. And he couldn't say no. So he's had a huge resurgence in his career, and he's always been this like underground legend. So it's really cool to see him getting his due now.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, and that was I actually went back and watched that match from what Tiffany's seen. And I was like, wow, that's from a guy just announcing months ago of retirement to what he just put on. I'm like, man, why did he retire?
Yeah, seriously.
I saw one of his last matches. I saw it with Danny DeMonto at ICW. So it's just, when he's around, like, I need to go. I need to see him. He's
100%.
So
yeah.
Definitely.
I'm glad it's influenced your career in a way, and like you said before, like just to take a different approach to some of your moves and more crisp approach, which is really cool. So I like how it influenced your career in that aspect.
Yeah, for sure.
Besides him, who was your favorite wrestler? I know you were talking about earlier with the '96 with Undertaker and stuff, but who was your favorite wrestler, maybe wrestlers, growing up in the business?
Yeah, I gotta say, I was a big Stone Cold guy.
Nice.
I was a awesome guy. That's pretty much it. I mean, Goldberg, I was a fan. I was switching channels between Raw and Nitro, Monday Night Wars, just like I'm doing now with Wednesday Night Wars. But, the top, it was pretty much the top guys in the Attitude Era, WWF, The Rock. I was a big fan of DX, The Undertaker, of course, Chris Jericho, and, some other, like, a little maybe different ones off the path. RVD, I was a big fan of, and Jeff Hardy. I remember
Nice.
making posters. You don't see posters anymore
Right?
at events, at WWE events, or even at EW. You see like a couple signs here and there.
Mhm.
They used to have like everyone had a
Yeah.
poster.
You couldn't
in
see the
90s.
crowd. You just saw posters. You couldn't see the crowd at all.
Yeah, exactly. So I remember making, staying up late nights making posters for RVD and Jeff Hardy, and Chris Jericho too. I cut out giant Y2J and covered them in tinfoil,
Oh
Oh,
man.
so it was like very shiny. And yeah, we were very lucky to have some really great seats growing up, and kind of floor level seats
Oh,
a lot
nice.
of the time. And yeah, it was really cool. I loved going to events as a kid, and still do today.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
I
man.
guess I have to make a poster at like the next show that I come to come see you.
Yes.
Oh,
It's gotta be. It's gotta say Joey Silver, and it's gotta be wrapped in tinfoil because it's silver.
lots of glitter, like silver glitter all over the place. By the way, just so you know, our friendly neighborhood, your favorite ref, Jumbo Ref, is in the chat. Jimmy, what is going
Oh,
on?
God.
Yes.
Very familiar with.
Jimmy.
Jimmy,
One of
the
my best
best.
friends. That's how I started coming to a lot of these indie shows, was actually because Jimmy was reffing. So I was like, I came to support him, and that's how I found all you guys. It's just yes, Jimmy, we know Full Faith Wrestling, November 23rd. You're reffing it. We talked about it already. But yeah, so if you guys are in the Long Island area, come hang out.
Yeah, go say
I
hi
hope
to
you have
Jimmy.
the patch, Jim.
You mentioned Jericho, and I can't believe like what he's doing nowadays. Like he's been here so long. He's the one guy that started in the one Monday Night Wars to now the Wednesday Night Wars, and he's still going. Like that's just incredibly, his longevity in this business is nuts.
Yeah.
He's one of my favorites of all time, 100%. So Tiff, get you to ask the next question here.
So, to the people who don't know you, what kind of style of wrestling do you think best suits yourself? Are you high flyer, ground and pound, maybe?
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, I'm on the smaller side. I'm not the smallest guy, but definitely on the smaller side in today's professional wrestling industry. I'm about 5'10", 175 pounds,
That'd be
depending
perfect
on.
for 205 Live.
Yeah, well, I can't. Yeah, I need to put on a little more weight, but I definitely consider myself more of a hybrid. I think it's really important to be adaptable in today's wrestling industry. I could be facing someone who's smaller than me, someone who's the same size, or someone who's 6'6", 250 pounds. So, it all depends on who I'm up against, and I can do the high flying stuff. I can do strong style. I can do brawler style. I can do amateur style. So I like to think that I can hang with anyone because of that hybrid style. And I think that's something, Amazing Red has helped instill in all of us, is to be able to work with anyone. You got to be able to do your moves on anyone, someone who's 5'2" and 120 pounds, or someone who's 6'8" and 300 pounds. So, yeah, I definitely consider myself a hybrid.
I like that. Yeah, I really do like that.
He's a beast. I know. I was saying this before in Skype. I'm like, this guy, and I've said it even earlier when we were on the All Elite podcast. I was like, I said, this guy's gonna be a star. I said, mark my word. I see it. He's a little beast. I mean, we'll get to the Full Faith Wrestling question, but I'm telling you guys,
And it's crazy. You mentioned the whole small for nowadays. I think even nowadays, like that, the transition to that size is what's actually, it's not like the old days where like you had to be a giant in order to succeed in professional wrestling. I love the transition that it's going to include everybody nowadays, and everyone has a chance to be in that top spot regardless of your size. I love how there's more things that matter rather than your size nowadays. So
yeah,
I really
exactly.
do like that.
Yeah, it's a great time for us smaller guys.
What's your favorite match of all time that you've seen and or continue to watch today?
So this is a good one, and I actually just thought of another one. I thought of three. might have been my top two.
That's okay.
And I'm like, okay, I'm adding one more to the list. So I think my favorite match of all time is probably Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker,
Yeah.
the second one that they had.
Oh,
So,
the second one.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
usually people go for the first one at 25. Okay.
Yeah, I like Sean's career on the line. It does it for me, just emotionally. Like the storytelling in that match is unbelievable. The lead up to it, the video package, it's just the whole deal. One that I saw live, which was incredible. NXT Takeover Brooklyn 4, Adam Cole versus Ricochet.
Oh, okay. Yep.
And I'm not gonna lie, I will admit it. I cried.
Oh.
I cried a little bit. It was emotional to watch. It was two guys laying it all on the line. When Ricochet did the springboard, the lion salt, and Adam Cole super kicked him.
That was
I lost
nuts.
it. I was like, this is the pinnacle
Mm-hmm.
of professional wrestling right now. So really one of my favorite matches and one that I can watch over and over. And then another one, like kind of a throwback that I just love to watch is the triangle ladder match at WrestleMania 16, WrestleMania 2000.
Oh, I know you're talking about. Yeah.
Dudley's, the Hardys, and Edge and Christian. So, those guys, again, all innovators of the TLC, the ladder match, and that was kind of the beginning of it all. So, love watching that one, have it on VHS.
That one's a
pop
good
it
one.
in every now and then.
Yeah. I can name an NXT match that me and Tiff actually watched live that might make you change your mind. So I was down there this past WrestleMania for NXT TakeOver New York, and because of the story that they had going into it, it was not much of a story because they had the whole Tommaso Ciampa injury, but from what they built leading up to it and the match itself told an unreal story. Johnny Gargano and Adam Cole's NXT Championship match where Gargano won was the craziest match I've ever seen live. Like, that was insane, to the point where people in our section, I swear some of them were about to faint because they didn't know what they didn't know what realm they were in. It was after the one part where Undisputed Era came out and Johnny was able to attack all of them on the outside, and he came in and he got the last shot twice, and that should have been the end of the match because I was like 30 minutes in. I'm like, hey, this has got to be it, and then he kicked out and I was done. I was like, okay, it's over. Like, this is probably the best match I've ever seen, and then the whole Johnny winning and finally winning the NXT Championship. I know it would have been a lot better if it was Ciampa, but my God, I was just.
Reason why Kyle came here was because we thought that's what was going to happen. We were going to see Ciampa and Gargano is one of my favorites. And I was like, Kyle used to do an NXT podcast, and Kyle got me into NXT. So I was like, how cool would it be to go with Kyle to watch Johnny Gargano get the belt, my favorite, get the belt. But like, he was in all Adam Cole, I was in all Johnny Gargano, and we're flipping out at each other. And it was just, oh my God, it was just insane.
That was a great match.
That was epic. I was there as well. And epic. Just that's the only word I can use. And you still got the Ciampa appearance. Yeah. So it was great. Adam Cole is he consistently puts on incredible matches. And I know we'll talk about him a little later, but he's one of my current favorites. And even his match on NXT on USA, Adam Cole versus Matt Riddle. Mm-hmm. It was just pure insanity, like from start to finish. I loved it, and I think both those guys are incredible.
I think he's this generation's Shawn Michaels. He's got to be. Yeah. 100%.
I completely.
Yeah, he just has that great of a match in every match he gets into. Shawn Michaels will be known as Mr. WrestleMania. He'll be known as Mr. Takeover, guaranteed.
No, it's like Johnny Gargano.
I know, Johnny Takeover. Yeah.
Don't go there with me right now because we're gonna fight. But
so that's one of my favorite matches of all time. The 25 one's still one of my favorite matches of all time between Shawn Michaels and Undertaker. And the third one is actually another Gargano match, but this time he was with Ciampa, and I seen this tag team match live. Was at Takeover Toronto, the one where they won the belts against the Revival. That was probably the best tag team match I've ever seen to date. Like, that was insane, and that told also a story too. Them tapping out at the same time, like that was just, oh man, I remember being inside the arena, and TV doesn't do it justice. It never does. Like, I was just at the first AW taping, and TV doesn't do it justice. The crowd is so much louder when you're there in person. It's insane. I can only imagine how, like, for you guys, like, taking it all in. I see it firsthand. When a crowd's loud, the wrestlers react to it a lot different. Like, they know they have to go out there and act professional, but they build it up so much, and they can't hold it in anymore, and they just eat it up. Oh man, it's awesome.
Yeah, it always helps the wrestlers in the ring when the crowd is super into it. Because you definitely come across crowds that are a little dead, and they're not really cheering, they're not really making any noise. So then we're out there, risking our lives literally, and doing all we can to entertain. So when you have a crowd that's hot and that's screaming and into it, it just makes it so much better. That's why I love these full faith wrestling shows on Long Island, because I have a lot of friends and family that come out. They're chanting my name. They're giving Silver will shine, Silver will shine. So it's really cool when I have my peeps out there. And it's even cooler when they're not out there and there's people still cheering for me. So I love it when yes.
I'm definitely one.
Yeah.
I always say, like, I'm a good fan to have, because I don't care if you're a heel, like, I'm still gonna cheer for your ass, like,
Yes.
how it is. But so if we're gonna talk about you and your matches. What is your most memorable moment or match of all time?
Most memorable match. That's a good one. So I used to work for this company in Delaware called Right Coast Pro, and it was kind of like a newer company there.
Okay.
But there was this one young upstart. His name was Colton Quest.
Oh.
And him and I had a 15-minute Ironman match.
Oh.
And Jim Kettner, I don't know if that name rings a bell. He's kind of a Delaware booking legend. He invented the Super 8 tournament. I don't know if that rings a bell, but
that rings a bell a little bit. I think I've read that before.
Yeah, a ton of guys were in it. Ciampa, Gargano, Nice, AJ Styles, Amazing Red. All these guys were in it. Daniel Bryan, Low Key, just to name a few. But he agented the match.
Oh.
And so it was really cool to have him as a personal friend of mine. And we put on a really solid show, Colton Quest and I. Had the fans begging for 5 more minutes when we tied.
No way.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. And, Colton Quest, he was a good friend of mine. Unfortunately, about a year ago, he actually passed away. So it was really, really hard. And yeah, he was a great guy. It was a freak accident, car accident.
Oh man.
So definitely a tough loss. But I'll always have a really, really fond memory of him and that amazing match that we put on. So there's that one, and sorry to bring it down, but bring it back up. Recent Full Faith Wrestling gauntlet match that I had where I won this beautiful belt.
Hey.
I feel like I need a name for this belt. I don't know. I can't use Goldie, but yellow.
I don't know. Yellowy doesn't sound good.
Yeah, definitely not yellowy.
If you guys got names, let us know. Like
a good yellow name. It's tough when you associate yellow. You can't really think of a good name with yellow. Like what things that are yellow, like banana, and like nothing badass comes out when you think of yellow.
Yeah, I don't know. It's mellow yellow.
Mellow.
I don't know.
Again, it doesn't sound mellow yellow. It's not. It's hard.
I feel like if I say Yella, it's
Yella.
maybe cooler. Like if I call it Old Yella.
Old Yella.
I don't know. I'm spitballing here. I'm spitballing.
If anyone knows, let us know, and then we can forward it on to Joey.
Yeah, hop in the comments
Yeah.
and give us a name for this title belt for this championship. But yeah, that was a pretty historic night for me and my wrestling career as my first championship win. And I do remember, so I knew I was going to be in this 6-way match, and we thought it was going to be, a 6-way scramble. We're all in the ring at the same time, and one winner is crowned, or even elimination style. But it actually, when we got there, it turned out that it was going to be a gauntlet match, and that I was starting. So I had to. They gave me the Kofi Kingston treatment. I had to go through. And not last week's debacle. We won't get into that, but the original. And I had to battle through my way 5 other great wrestlers, and I got the wind knocked out of me like in the first match. And so it was actually really difficult to breathe for the remainder of the match. But pushed through and did some pretty awesome stuff. I think there's some clips on social media and all that.
I posted it myself. I was there. I was like,
yes.
I was like, he's gonna be a star. I'm telling you, like that match, I was like, this guy, I'm telling you, he's gonna get picked up. Shit, AEW, somebody sign him, because I'm telling you, like, I was rooting for you the entire time. You are a beast. So the crowd was absolutely insane. Like, and I know, like, your friends, your family, I knew it like right off the bat, because I could tell the section over there. I was like, that's so awesome. Like,
the silver section. And for November 23rd, again, Shannon Moore, it's going to be hopefully triple the size. I'm bringing the whole cavalry.
That's
We're
awesome.
going to have 50, 60, 70 people there in my corner. So I'm hoping.
Whoa, family reunion.
Yeah, for real. It's going to be wild.
Jimmy, if you're still in the chat, I expect some hookup for this front row again. Like,
yeah, Jimmy.
Yeah, Jimmy.
Yeah, even Joey says it. Come on. Hook Tiff up here. Anywho.
I'll make my ways around, so, you'll hook me up.
So speaking of wrestlers, and you were just talking about like a couple of guys you just wrestled, is there a wrestler out there right now, someone you would actually love to work with eventually, if you could?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, we spoke about Adam Cole before. He's a guy who when I was first starting out in wrestling, I sent him a Facebook message. I was like, whatever, let me send a message, and he probably won't reply. He sent back a giant reply. It was great. This was 5 years ago now. So he was like he was a pretty big name on the independent. Yeah, it was crazy. He sent me back all these pointers, and it was really cool to receive a message like that from him. Obviously he's a huge star now, but to get kind of feedback from him was really, really cool, and tells me like what kind of person he is outside the ring. So I would love to work with him again. That's a dream. A couple other guys like Low Key. He's been a huge inspiration for me. Will Ospreay, I mean, one of the best in the world right now, and his match with Amazing Red just proved that again. Christopher Daniels, he's been around for so long and has done it all.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I could really learn a ton from him. And a guy like Joey Ryan too, I feel like I'm a fan of his. I like his kind of unconventional style and all of his antics. I've seen him live a couple times. I really enjoy his work. And then one other guy who you might not know yet, his name is Casanova Valentine.
Oh, yeah.
Tiff's mentioned it before.
Yeah, you know.
Of course, like, I am the queen of the indies, guy. I know all these names.
He's a really cool dude. I started when I started training, he was in my class. So we were together, and now he's kind of blown up as this like hardcore no ring death match guy. I would love to do a hardcore match at some point in my career.
That'd be sweet.
Yeah, preferably sooner rather than later. And I, while I still can, and I think he would be a great guy to do it with, and just a super nice guy that I'd love to get in the ring with, or not in the ring.
Take it. Just take it. I'm
Yes.
going broke. All you guys are making me broke in the indie circuit. Like, forget everything else. You guys in the indie circuit are making me broke.
So many shows every weekend.
I can't. New York is flourishing. It's insane. If anybody who comes here, there's always like wrestling going on like every day of the week. It's just insane. So is there someone from the past that if they were in their prime today, that you would like to wrestle with, or like a one-on-one?
Yeah, I mean, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Can I say that?
That'd be an interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
After.
Yeah, guys like Stone Cold, The Rock. I mean, those are just like idols of mine growing up. Kurt Angle would be a really cool one. I remember when I was first starting out, and I mentioned Jim Kettner before, that Delaware promoter. He said when I'm kind of like when I'm training, he said I reminded him of Kurt Angle.
Oh.
So I felt like that was a really cool compliment.
Yeah, it's a good pat in the back.
Yeah, for real. And Scott Hall is another cool one. Edge, he's a great guy, great
Canadian.
wrestler.
Yeah. Get clear.
Yep.
And of course, got to throw my guy Eddie Guerrero in there. Obviously no longer with us, but a guy from the past who just could go.
Yeah.
Always. I would love to go.
And he was so good. And he just celebrated his 52nd birthday yesterday, and it was just, oh man, he was so good at what he did in the ring, and even back to his like WCW days when they were one of their main focal points of their Nitro shows was highlighting the cruiserweights and giving them some time. And even back then, watching him do his stuff with all the cruiserweights there, and Jericho being part of that group too, and his transition to WWE with his Latino heat stuff, his whole funny predicament with China, the Los Guerreros thing. He did so much for the WWE that I know they'll never forget. Especially no one should ever forget what he did. But not only that, his work in the ring was elite, if I can put it into perspective here. Pun intended to all my stuff around here, but yeah. That'd be definitely a cool one to pick. If I was a wrestler, Eddie Guerrero would be in my top 10 100%.
For sure. Add that to the list of favorite matches would be Eddie Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio at Halloween Havoc.
Yep.
One I could just watch anytime. Always.
They were so I mean, they were quick when they went to WWE, but back then they were lightning fast. They were so good.
Crazy.
So let's talk about some Full Faith here. You recently wrestled at Full Faith Wrestling, where you won the FFW Light Heavyweight Championship, which we mentioned. Talk us through this match and the experience. I think we touch base on that?
We touched base.
Yeah, we kind of talked about it, but pretty much very big night for me, emotional night, a ton of friends and family there. Again, it was my first championship win. So it meant a lot to me, and it means a lot that that Full Faith Wrestling believes in me and trusts
full faith in
me.
you.
Intended. But to be a champion for them is it's an honor. So I'm happy to be champion and happy to defend my championship, whether it's against Smiley, the Psycho Lucha, or Shannon Moore, and we'll see who they throw at me next.
That's a title I wish had I guess, made into a bigger deal back in the day when WWE actually had it. They actually used to have a light heavyweight championship, and I wish I was a kind of a thing today. I always loved that title. I love the look of it. I love the aspect of it. To me, cruiserweight title is just doesn't really stick with me that much. I mean, if they had made it into a light heavyweight championship, I think that could have been better. and properly booked nowadays would be a really good title. But no, that's cool. I'm glad they had, pun intended, faith in you for carrying this light heavyweight championship, and then we'll see what they throw at you.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely. You guys got to come check it out again. I'm like, push this. It's great stuff. So it's so many promotions today. What promotion are on the list of one that you would like to work for? That was one of our fan tweets from Ringside Rants.
Yes, thank you, Ringside Rants, for the tweet and the question. There's a ton out there. Obviously, talking in this area, NEW is Northeast Wrestling. They draw a big crowd. I remember going to an NEW show when I was in high school. Drove up with a friend of mine, and it was awesome. I just remember seeing like Jerry the King Lawler there and Tommy Dreamer.
Nice.
Probably Sabu. It was awesome. I loved that. I loved going to indie shows as a kid in middle school, high school. Fest Wrestling is another big one that I'd love to cross off the list. Bar Wrestling is Joey Ryan's. That would be super cool. And I also want to get out of the United States. I'd love to go to Canada and visit Kyle.
Yeah, right. If I owned a wrestling promotion, I'd welcome you in with open arms.
I want to go to Mexico, maybe a European tour.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to do it all, honestly. Japan, of course, is on the radar. I want to do it all.
Mm-hmm.
I want to do it all for real.
Hey, I know one company out there that's looking to build newer stars and give a name to them, and that's this company right back here, AEW. So hopefully they come knocking on Joey Silver's door one day. That would be a huge opportunity. We'll see Joey Silver on Dynamite.
I'm not gonna drop any names, but he knows somebody. Private party. Just saying.
Mark Quinn, Isaiah Cassidy, talking to you.
Yeah, talking to you, boys.
Throw him under the bus.
Get Joey Silver invited. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm on the list.
Oh,
but that'd be cool. Those are cool promotions. I love those goals there, and even New Japan would be insane. Like I always love enjoying watching New Japan Pro Wrestling. Like their style of wrestling over there and what they do over there, it can't be replicated. It's so much fun to watch, and I know it's not for everybody, but when I first got introduced to it, I fell in love with it instantly. There was no, I might like it or it's okay. I instantly, it was like a snap of a finger. I fell in love with it instantly. It's awesome. So that'd be cool to wrestle for them.
For sure. With ICW. I mean, I'm a big ICW fan. So, Jack, get a booked.
Soon enough. They'll be calling me up. Sure.
I'm going in 2 weeks. I'll go to Jack. Listen, book Leroy and book Joey Silver. Come on, Jack. Let's do it. I need to see this. Make it happen.
Let them hear it.
Awesome. So we talk about you talk about you had your allegiance of fans show up. You're gonna have a big group of 70 fans, but let's talk about the other fans for a second here. What's the craziest thing you might have seen a fan do to get your attention or maybe another wrestler's attention?
Oh man, so I've had someone show up to a show with a giant banner, 20 feet long, with my name printed on it. I'm not even kidding. It was professionally made.
Oh wow!
It wasn't a poster. This was a banner.
Oh wow!
Printed. So that was really cool. That's probably the craziest thing. I mean, you see crazy things when you make your entrance, and I like to, burst out of the curtain with a lot of energy, screaming, get the crowd going. One time, a woman. And she was sitting in the front row. She actually had a small child, an infant, probably maybe 2 years old. I don't know. She picked him up and held him over the guardrail and gave this baby to me to hold. I know. So I picked up the baby and I did give him the Simba treatment. That was it. I don't know. People do crazy things when they go to wrestling shows. First of all, why is there a baby at a wrestling show?
Well, I mean, what are you supposed to do in that? Okay.
I don't know, but
I just kind of wish it was prepared and they played the Lion King theme as soon as you're doing that.
That would have been epic.
This is probably the best one that I heard since we were started doing Under the Ropes. I
Wow.
think this
You
top.
should plan it out with Full Faith Wrestling. Maybe you get that video trending.
Oh my god, yeah. Get a small child and lift them up. That would go viral, I
Or you
think.
can go Gene Snitsky, make it a fake baby, and just kick it in the entrance.
Oh my god.
Okay, I'm gonna bring Fat Pharaoh. Okay, this is our AEW mascot.
Oh
Yes.
God!
Next to visit you, like I'm gonna give him to you. So.
Then you can kick him. He's allowed
Yeah,
to
you
be
can-
kicked.
Hunt them, but I'd like him
No,
back.
that I will never forget that moment watching Raw. I was watching it, and I didn't. I'm like, it took me about 30 seconds before I could move. I was like, did I not just see that? Or they did the whole angle with Kane and Gene Snitsky and Lita's baby, and it was a fake baby in a carrot, and he grabbed it and he like kicked it into the crowd, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
And I was pretty young at that time. Like, did he just really kick a baby into the crowd? I'll never forget that moment. I was in shock.
You see
Yeah.
some crazy things in the indie scenes. I'll tell you that. I seen a puppet being thrown around in the indie scenes. Like the wrestlers brought it into the ring, punted it across. Like
I mean,
I've seen some
Our
crazy
pal
things.
Nick Shin said he had a full pizza thrown at him, so
Yeah.
some crazy things happen.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
Like a dream, actually.
When you're about
Yeah, can I catch it when you're throwing it at me, please?
oh Lord.
Um,
So, if it comes to a rare occurrence, do you have a plan B if wrestling doesn't work out?
Yeah, so I mean, it's definitely going to be a rare one. When I was in high school, I was thinking, I was getting rebellious. It was getting to be like my junior, senior year. I'm like, Mom, Dad, I don't want to go to college. I just want to go to wrestling school. This is what I want to do with my life. It was at this point that I had a brief conversation with Mick Foley, actually.
oh,
And yeah, I spoke to him for a little while, and I was telling him all of this. I said, I want to I don't want to go to college. I just want to go to wrestling school and make a career out of this and give it my all, give it 100. And he gave me the wise words of, you got to have an education. I know we all know how important it is to him, with his books and his writing. He's a big advocate for education, and it really hit home with me. I was like, okay, maybe I should have a fallback, have an education, something I can look back on. So I have my bachelor's degree from the University of Delaware in communication. So I have a bit of a fallback, and I have my shoot job at a startup in Manhattan. So, I have that I do kind of my Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 kind of gig. So that's my fallback. But
right.
If being in the ring doesn't work out for whatever reason, I know that I will always be involved in the wrestling industry, no matter what I'm doing in some capacity.
You gain such a knowledge of the business that it's hard to leave, right? You could be a scout, you can be a guy backstage, you can managerial roles that are, that don't include physical work. You know what I mean? Like I think that's awesome that even if, something were to happen where you couldn't wrestle anymore, if, like it just didn't work out, there's something else available in wrestling that you could do in some capacity.
For sure. That's the great thing about it. There's so many roles and so many companies, especially with the advent of AEW and, House of Glory's got a lot of eyes on it right now. A lot of companies, independent companies, are growing fast. And this is a great time to be in the industry. So whether it's as a wrestler, as someone backstage, or as a fan, this is just a great time for wrestling. So yeah, I definitely foresee myself being involved in the industry in any capacity for the rest of my life.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go a little off the script here, and I hit you with one of these job interview questions that I always love when I always get a job interview. Where do you see yourself in 5 years when it comes to wrestling, or maybe just in life in general? Like, where do you see yourself 5 years from now?
So I I'm gonna be honest.
The year is
I
2024. Joey Silver is in the main event against Adam Cole for the NXT Championship.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I see myself being signed to a major wrestling company in 5 years. I think I have some serious goals, and I love setting goals and just going out there and achieving them. If I'm not signed to a major company, I foresee myself being a household name on the independent circuit. I think I have some big things planned, and I'm serious about this career in professional wrestling and about making it and making a name for myself and leaving a legacy. So whether it's 5 years from now or 10 years from now, I think Joey Silver is going to be a name that people know across the country. So yeah, that's
awesome.
pretty much it.
I love that's awesome for you to have the motivation and to have that in yourself and believe in yourself. That's awesome. That's all you can ever ask for in someone. If like a fan of yours that's following you, like to know that you are not going to stop. You're going to do whatever it takes to get to that next level and be that household name or be signed to a major company, and the name Joey Silver is going to be known by everybody in the wrestling business that this guy is the next star. So to have a goal like that is amazing. I love that answer. So I usually fail that question in the interview, so it's all right. It's better than my answer.
It's going to be 5 years. It's going to be less than that. Okay. I keep reading it. Okay. And I don't say things lightly. So I'm a huge fan, and like I said, and I keep saying it, there's something special. I don't think it's going to be 5 years. I think it's going to be way less than 5 years that you're going to get signed over. So that's so I believe.
I mean, it could be like as soon as, it could be right now. Yeah, TK's calling me. Tony, look at that. Oh, I think he's watching. TK, what's going on, man?
Oh, freaking man.
Are you watching this right now? Yeah, Joey Silver. Yeah, sign him. You won't regret it.
You're a mess.
Okay.
Hit him up, TK.
Oh my lord, too funny. Anyway, so you're amazing, and so this interview has to come to an end, unfortunately. But our final question: what is a piece or some piece of advice that you would give to a young, inspiring wrestler growing up in this business?
Yeah, just keep going. Just keep going. It's not an easy journey. I'm on it right now. I'm on the journey, and it's not easy. Going to shows, going to Maine this weekend, the long drives, the bumps, the bruises. You've heard it before. It's not an easy one. Training is really hard, and it takes 100%. It takes your full self and full commitment. There are days you're going to come back home and cry because you feel like you messed up or you don't belong or whatever it is. Like I said, there's going to be bruises, blood, buckets of sweat poured. So it takes everything. It takes your whole self. But if you really, really want it, and this is what you want to do, just got to keep going, got to stay with it. And I'm learning this as I go. I'm learning it on the job, and that's my recommendation, my 2 cents, my piece of advice.
That's awesome. So yeah, that's usually the answer here, guys. Just if you're a young, inspiring wrestler and you're listening to this, just keep going. Keep your eyes on the prize, so to speak. Don't let anyone try to talk you down. You go at your own pace. If you want it, you'll eventually get it. So as long as you work hard. That was a great answer, Joey. Thank you very much. But like Tiff said, unfortunately, it does have to come to an end interview. I'd love to talk wrestling all day with you. But unfortunately for people out there who don't want to listen to 8-hour podcasts, I don't know if there is any people out there who do, but
I don't know. I think they do. I think they might.
I don't have time for that. I barely have time to re-listen to my own podcast. Anyways, thank you very much for coming on here, Joey. I really do appreciate you taking your time in your schedule to come on here on the show Under the Ropes and giving the wrestling world out there and the independent fans out there a little bit more knowledge about who Joey Silver is and will know in the future for sure. and that's a stamp of approval from us. So,
Oh yeah,
Of
definitely.
course.
so thank you very
Tiffany,
much.
Kyle, thank you so much. It means the world that you had me on here. This is a big step for me, and I hope anyone who's listening enjoyed, and will come out to a show. Come see me at a show soon. Got some big things coming up in the Northeast and beyond. So, thank you again for having me on. This was awesome.
Awesome. So again, guys, that is Joey Silver, the Full Faith Wrestling light heavyweight champion, with I'm gonna just say Goldie Jr. back there with yellow mellow, whatever you like to call him. But guys, this has been let us know in the comments down. We need a name for that belt. But otherwise, guys, this has been episode number 4 of the Under the Ropes podcast, right here on the No Holds Barred Network, your source for all wrestling podcast content and more. I'm your host, as always, of this interviewed podcast, Kyle Masters, always joined by my co-host. She's the EVP of Giggles, the Heartbreak Chick herself, Tiffany. Thank you. I want to give a big shout out to These Wolves for letting us the song Enough Is Enough for the official theme song of Under the Ropes going forward. Thank you very much to them. Big shout outs to them. Big shout outs to Joey Silver, guys. Go follow him on Twitter at Joey_Silver. And we'll see you guys next time for the next episode of Under the Ropes.
Remember